Hey everybody, it's Amy Head with New Perspectives for Life in Marietta, Georgia. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2014. I hope you're doing well this week. I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend and the holiday this past Monday. A lot of us are kind of feeling like we're doing double catch-up duty for this week since we lost a day of work, and so we're kind of catching all up from that. So I hope you've had a good week, and we're almost to the weekend now, so everything is looking good. I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you sort of a theme that has come up. I like to do that from time to time. A theme that's come up with some of the clients that I've been seeing this week, and that is this idea that they are not seeming to get what they need from the people in their lives, or they maybe haven't gotten what they've needed maybe as a child and now they're an adult. They didn't get what they needed from the people that were in their lives as a child, parents, teachers, coaches, things like that. And that's been kind of a recurring theme this week and previous weeks and months and years of my counseling practice, that people come in to talk about a problem or an issue that kind of is focused in and around not having their needs met by the very people that they're closest to or that are in their lives. So I hope this might mean something for you as well as I share a few thoughts about that, because I think it's a good shift in perspective where we're going to go with this thought today, and it might be helpful as you're thinking about your relationships past and present, and then of course in the future. Well, a lot of times I'll hear things like, my dad wasn't there for me, or my mom was really critical, or my husband doesn't give me the time that I need, or my wife doesn't understand me, doesn't give me space when I get home from work. It's all these different things. There could be thousands of examples, but the bottom line is somebody is not getting what they need from somebody else. And the result of that is that the person who is not getting what they need begins to internalize that lack. And they internalize it in one of a couple of ways. They either internalize it as if there's something wrong with them, that if they were better or did a better job in whatever role it is, then they would get what they need from the person. So they internalize it as a weakness or a flaw or a misgiving within themselves. Or they sort of internalize it but then come right back and externalize it in maybe resentment or anger toward the person who is not meeting their needs. So they sort of come up with this maybe anger and such as, he just doesn't seem to care, or she just doesn't seem to get it, and it kind of goes on the person not meeting the need. Well, we all have needs. We all have emotional, mental, physical needs, spiritual needs, and we do look to those in our lives to help meet those needs. And when we're not feeling like our needs are being met, and especially if we feel like we're doing as much as we can to meet the other person's needs, there can be a real gap there for us where it feels there's a huge void that we just don't know what to do with and how it's ever going to get filled up the way it needs to. The way I kind of like to look at that is like this. I don't necessarily think that people intentionally or even consciously choose not to meet the needs of the people in their lives. I tend to believe that people do and give what they have to give. People do their best at giving what they have to give. And when it looks like they're not giving or not meeting a need, it may be very well the fact that they don't have that to give. For example, let's take a thought like this. Somebody who grew up in a very critical home where they were criticized for every little thing, nothing was good enough. If they made a 90 on their test, why didn't they make 100? Nothing ever measured up. And the messages that this person received over and over again were messages of criticism, not good enough, not measuring up, you should have done better, that's good, but ... Well, over time, this person is going to have all of this that they've received, right? So then when it comes for them to have a relationship with somebody, whether it's a spouse or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whether it's a coworker, maybe they're an employee that they are over in their department, maybe it's as a parent, chances are they're going to have all this criticism and negativity to give to these people. Not that they want to give it. They might want to be supportive. Oh, great job, you got a 90 on that? Good job, I'm proud of you. Or oh, that the draft of that letter looks good, let's send that out in the morning. They're gonna see all of what could have been or should have been or needs to be, and they're gonna be critical. So the person receiving that from them is gonna think, geez, why can't this person just support and encourage me instead of pointing out every little thing that I do or didn't do, well, that I didn't do well or that I forgot to do. But it's not so much because there's something wrong with that person who's receiving it, and it's not really even that there's something wrong with the person who's being critical, it's just that that's what that person has to give. I like to use this example with my clients in the sense that if I need $10 from you, as much as you might want to give me $10, like let's say I have to go get gas on the way home and I don't have any cash on me and I left my wallet at home, as much as you might want to give me $10, if all you have is $5, you cannot give me 10. So it doesn't matter how much you want to, how badly you feel that you can only give me 5, that's all you have to give. And I think when we see these relationships where people's needs are not being met, it might not be because the person whose needs aren't being met isn't valued enough or isn't valuable enough to the other person. And it might not be that the person who isn't meeting the needs is doing so on purpose or because they don't care. It might just be all that person has to give. And chances are they're giving more actually than what they were given in their lives. So in their minds, they might be really doing a better job even though it may feel like they're doing a poor job. I hope that's helpful because what that does is if we can think about it from that perspective and if we kind of buy into that and that sort of fits based on the person's history or the person that we're dealing with, what we know about that person, what it can do is it can help us, first of all, understand a little more empathetically what might be going on with that person and not take it on as an internal problem with ourselves. Secondly, it can help us maybe adjust how we express what we need, or maybe adjust our expectation, or if nothing else, at least open the lines of communication with that person. Because just because that person doesn't have maybe what we need for them to give us, doesn't mean that all of a sudden we shouldn't need that. We need what we need, right? But what it can do is it can take us from a blaming perspective to more of a reframed perspective where then we might be more willing to enter into a conversation rather than just blame and shut down. And patterns over time are hard to break. The messages that we've embraced and just clutched onto, whether they're healthy or not, the messages in our minds that we hold on to are there and they're strong. So it takes a while and it takes time to sort of recondition and retrain those messages. But it can be done. And it can be done more quickly and effectively if we kind of come to some understanding with each other rather than if we just decide we're at an impasse. You don't want to help me, you expect me to help you anyway, you don't want to meet my needs but I'm supposed to meet yours. When we get in that kind of spiraling downward frame of mind, nothing productive happens and everything kind of can deconstruct from that. We want to build. So one of the ways that we build is by finding ways to understand where the other person's coming from, not give up our needs, but be willing to give over to maybe other forms of communication and patterns that might help move us all forward in a more productive and healthy way. I hope that's helpful for you this week as you're thinking about your relationships and if you've been feeling sort of a void in getting some of your needs met, if you feel like people just really aren't stepping up the way you need them to. Think about those people and think about what they bring to the table. That might enlighten the situation a little bit in a way that you haven't thought about before and maybe prompt another way to go about trying to get those needs met from the people who might not necessarily have it to give naturally, but are able to sort of reach and dig deep and find it to give as they're being supported and encouraged to do so. Thanks so much for joining me, Amy Head, New Perspectives for Life in Marietta, Georgia. Hope you have a great rest of the day, a great start to the weekend tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.